Okay, I can tell you how excited I am to be here today. It's my first time to be in Kuala Lumpur, and it is also the first time for my son who came with me on this trip. So while I'm here attending WordCamp, he's out there touring the beautiful city. He's so lucky. So because he's able to do that and I can't, I asked him this morning to go to all the popular tourist spots that we've heard of and take pictures. So you see what I just did? I just turned my son into a human Google bot. Because that's how search works really, right? Search engine bots like Googlebot would crawl, visit all the known websites and web pages on the internet, and we call that crawling. And then it would record, just like my son would take pictures of the content of those pages and store them in the database and match those content to user queries. Okay, which brings me to my first tip for technical SEO wins to rank highly on Google. Make sure that the pages that you want to show up on search results are indexed. Okay, what do we mean by that? Okay, so what is a no index tag in the first place? So a no index tag is something, no, it's not like, it is an HTML code that you put on the header of your page, and it looks exactly like that. And what it does is that it tells Google specifically not to read or access your page, right? So how can you rank on Google if it's Google bots cannot read your content? That's so logical, right? But I can't tell you how often that is overlooked by many website owners. In the graph that I'm sharing with you, it's a screenshot from the traffic report of one of my clients. Last year, they were so worried because all of a sudden the page that they used to rank number 1, number 2 for specific keywords, they're suddenly gone on search results. And the sad thing is that my client hired several people just to look into the problem and solve the issues. And by the time that he contacted me, being a technical SEO, the first thing that I would look at is the page easily crawled and seen or indexed by Google? And voila, it has the no index tag. And when we switched from no index to index, in less than 24 hours, that page regained its number 1 ranking. And it is still number 1 up to this day. So how do you check a page's indexing status? Number 1, you can just input the exact URL on Google's search bar, and then it will show you, no, it will not show you the page if it's not indexed. So this is something that I accidentally discovered while doing my slide presentation. This is the scheduled page of WordCamp Malaysia, and when I inputted on Google search, it wasn't showing me the exact page. It was showing me all the other pages of WordCamp Malaysia and other WordCamps, but not specifically the scheduled page. And then you can also do a search operator in Google. So what you do is you type site, and then your website's URL and the specific page. And if it's not indexed, it's going to show you that. See, it's not going to show any result. Or another fast way to check page indexing is to use a browser extension. In my case, I use the SEO Pro extension, and most of the extensions would just show you the meta robots. So you look for that. And in the case of WordCamp Malaysia schedule page, it wasn't specifying whether or not it wants the page to be indexed or not indexed. And so Google decided it's not going to index the page. So if you have a specific page that you really want to rank on Google, normally you don't specify it. You just create a page, right? And then there's no specification. But if you really want to make sure that it shows up on search results, you have to put index in the meta robot. So in the code that I showed you earlier, let me see. Okay, that one, you just change no index to the word index. That's all you have to do, very simple. Okay, just like what this page did to its article. Or sometimes you have some pages that you don't want Google to show to people, right? Maybe it has an outdated content, or the content exclusive to you and your team. So you just set the no index, just like what this page did. Okay, so again, how to check the Google page indexing. You can also do a view page source. So an index page would show you that. A no index page would show you the code that I'm showing at the bottom. Another is if you have access to your site or your client's Google Search Console, you can just use the URL inspection there, and Google will show you if the URL is found on Google or not. Now, how do you do indexing properly? So again, you set the meta robots tag if you want it indexed or not indexed. And then you add that code to the head section of the page. And then if you have access to your Google Search Console, you check the site for indexing status. So in Google Search, you will see an indexing report, and you only have to look at the no index tag issue, click it, and just review all the URLs there, whether or not they should be there. And if you find a URL that should not be there, you look at the source code and switch from no index to index. Okay, tip number 2. Regularly update your sitemaps with the URLs that you want to be crawled by Google. So not all the pages on your website has to be in the sitemap. I would suggest just listing out the URLs that you want to rank on Google. And also the sitemap has to be in XML format. So this is what a typical URL would look like in a sitemap. So out of the 3 tag elements, the 3 important ones would be the URL set, the location, and the last modified date. So those are the things that Google would look at. Change frequency and priority levels, Google has explicitly stated that they don't consider or look at them anymore. So, but for example, in the case of Nike, it still included the change frequency and priority tag elements. It's not going to hurt their SEO, but it's not going to do any good either. So, and another important thing to bear in mind is that an XML sitemap is not meant to explain to the search engine that this is how your website is structured. It's not how Google would consider a sitemap. What it does is that it looks at the URLs that are listed there and assumes that those are the pages that you want Google bots to discover and index. So when you do that, it's easier if you have, especially if you have new content, you just published it, it's faster to get found on Google by adding that or updating your XML sitemap. Another is make sure that the URLs that you list in your sitemap are the canonical pages. So if you don't know what the canonical page is, that's going to be my next tip in just a little while. So how do you create and update a sitemap properly? Again, only list down the URLs that you want to show up on search results. Make sure that those URLs are the canonical or the original URLs. Submit your sitemap on Google Search Console and update your sitemap whenever you have new pages published or you have some pages that you've removed or you are redirecting some pages. And it's also important to note that a sitemap has a limit of 50,000 URLs. So if you're managing or you own a website that's really large and there are over 50,000 URLs, my suggestion is that you break that up into several sitemaps. Now, if you're not a techie person like me, that's a technical SEO that's not techie. Ooh. Okay, I would suggest just using WordPress plugins. Though they would make your life easier. Or if you really want to learn about creating or building sitemaps, the Google Developer website has a tutorial for that, and you can just copy the address or get the QR code. Okay, so as promised, my third tip is use canonical tags on pages that you want to rank. So what is a canonical page? The best definition that I could find on the internet is one by Christina Azarenko. She is also a really good technical SEO. So she compares a canonical page to an artwork wherein you have the original. So the original master copy is your canonical page. All the other copies or duplicates or knockoffs are not canonical pages. Okay. So basically, it's again an HTML code that you put on the head of your page, exactly like that. And it's not really an instruction that you give to Google bots. It's just a strong suggestion because you would later find out that Google would sometimes not respect the canonical page that you provided in your code. So for example, let's say you have a page with content that either discusses SEO audit services or describes your SEO audit services. Now, if you post that link on Facebook or on Google My Business, you'd notice that on the address bar of your browser, there would be certain characters that go with it. So those are URL parameters, and Google would treat those URLs as a different page than the original ones, which is why if you want a page to rank on Google, then you have to assign the canonical page for that. If it doesn't matter to you, for example, that URL is just for advertising purposes or for landing page purposes, then that's fine. You also use canonical tags for redirects. So for example, let's say for this page, you had another page that has the same content as that, and you don't want the search engines or users to visit that page, so you redirect the traffic to the one that you want to be to rank on Google. So for example, in my client's case, they had AMP versions of their website. So they provided Google with a canonical URL, which is not the AMP version. And in this case, Google respected that and you will see that this is, I pulled this from their Google Search Console. And so it says same as user declared canonical. So why is canonical tag important? Again, it makes sure that the URL and the page that shows up on search result is the original one and not the, others from Facebook or Google My Business. And it also prevents duplicate content issues. So for example, if you have several pages that have nearly similar or somehow similar in content, and you want to just move all the SEO value of those pages into one, canonical tag would be a good option. Okay, and how do you set up a canonical tag the right way? So you don't have, again, to spend all your energy on all the pages on your website. You only get to choose the pages that you want to be found on search, and you assign the canonical tags on those. Check that the page you're placing a canonical tag has the same or nearly similar content to the canonical page. One case that a canonical tag won't work is when you have two pages. Let's say this is page 1 and page 2. Page 1 talks about one topic and page 2 talks about a different topic. Google is not going to respect your canonical tag for that. It's not going to perceive page 2 as the original page, but two different pages still. Okay, so the master copy should have a self-referential canonical in the line of code, and I'm going to show you a little bit later. And make sure that those canonical URLs are on your sitemap and all your internal linkings are pointing to the original URL, just like what this page did. So self-referential canonical will show you the URL and the canonical to have the same address. And if you check the page source, it's going to show you that HTML code, and this page did it correctly by putting that canonical URL in the sitemap. So how do you check for canonical tag issues? The best place to do that is on Google Search Console. So you just have to look for anything that says canonical, click that, and see what's happening there. If you have, let's say, an issue that says duplicate without user selected canonical tag, you'd know that that page did not specify any original URL, and so Google will decide it for you. Common issue would be, let's say, a website just migrated from an HTTP protocol to an HTTPS, but then it did not specify which one is the canonical URL. Sometimes Google would still select the HTTP one, which is a non-secure website. So that's going to pose some problems later on. So that's how important canonical tag is. Also, there are cases when you've you've assigned a canonical tag and you've submitted that in your sitemap, but Google still did not respect that and chose a different URL as the canonical. Usually the common reason for that is it's probably because the original page has a different content than the second page, or sometimes the original page, for example, SEO Audit Services, has content that is exactly the same as another page. In this case, SEO Services. Maybe SEO Services has descriptions that exactly match the content from SEO audit services, and so Google decided that it's just going to consolidate the value of that page to just one page. Okay. Tip number 4, if you have outdated or duplicate pages, the best way to avoid that is to implement a 301 redirect. So that's a case where you have one URL forwarding to another or a different address. So it's an HTTP response code that tells Googlebots that you have now moved the address of this page permanently to another address. So it's like telling your postman that you've changed your address, and so any letter that goes to the old address should be forwarded to the new address. If it's just a temporary migration, you would have to use the 302 redirect, not the 301. So when does a 301 redirect become important for SEO? Number 1, if you want to replace an old page with outdated content with another page that has better and updated content, but you would like to keep the value or authority of the old page and transfer that to the new page, a 301 redirect would help you do that. Number 2 is when you want to resolve keyword cannibalization and other duplicate content issue. So what is keyword cannibalization? It's an instance where you have more than one pages that talks about the same content, targeting the same keywords and user intent. So for example, like what I explained earlier, your SEO audit services is talking about exactly the same thing as your SEO services. That would be keyword cannibalization. So how do you implement a 301 redirect properly? Check that the destination or the new URL that you're redirecting your page is the page that you want to appear on search results. And then take note that you have your preferred www or non-www version of the address, because a www version of a page and the non-www one, Google will treat them as two separate pages. They're not going to be the same. Usually a www URL is treated by Google as a subdomain. So just to make your life easier, if you're not a developer or a techie person, use WordPress plugins. It's going to be easy. Also, as much as possible, please do not use the HT access if you're using a Yoast plugin. Don't go for that option unless you have FTP access or has built a backup copy of that page. Otherwise, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Tip number 5, implement structured data. So a structured data is a standardized format for organizing, labeling, and classifying content on your page. For example, if you have a website that sells cars and you have a page for a certain model, what a structured data would do is that it would classify all or provide all the necessary information or attributes of the car model, like the year model, the brand, the color, the price, etc. And structured data, or you might probably have heard it by another name. It's called schema markup. It's the native language of search engines, and the recommended format is JSON LD. So this is an example of a product schema markup using JSON LD. So this is how it would appear on your page's source code, but to the eyes of search engine bots like Googlebot, that's how it would appear. So it's cleaner, more organized, and you can actually somehow manipulate the information that you want the search engines to learn about your content or your product. So why is it important? Number one, because it's the native language of search engines. You make it easier for a search engine like Google to better understand your content, its context, and how it's relevant to certain user queries. So as the more accurate your descriptions are in your structured data, the more accurate it is and more efficient for a search engine to match your content to the right users. Another thing is, and this is especially true for product pages and pages that are rich in images. Structured data helps drive website traffic by standing out in search with rich results. So for example, if you implement a product schema markup, it would show the star ratings of that product on search, and that's going to be like a come on for many users, right? It establishes credibility and trust, and if they see, especially if you have the 5-star rating. Another thing is to pick out the right schema type that attracts traffic. So for example, this is another page by one of my clients, because that page talks about design and it's meant to target users that are interested in the design of the trailers. What we did was we implemented image structured data on the important images, and it's showing up all the beautiful and stunning images on search, which is again another attraction for users. Now, especially for describing your business to search engines, it's important to use the right schema type that would classify your business. There are over 100 business types that you can choose from in schema. And for example, if you have a store, don't just put that you're a store. As much as possible, be as specific as you can. If you're an auto parts store or a bookstore or a clothing store, the more accurate you are, the better, and the more chances of getting ranked for your targeted audience on search. The QR code that you see there will direct you to a platform or a tool that wherein you choose the exact classification of your business, and it will generate the organization schema for you. Or you can also use ChatGPT if you are well versed in using ChatGPT, that is, because sometimes it tends to hallucinate. But structured data is something that ChatGPT would not really tell lies about, right? So WordPress plugins, Yoast, Rank Math, Schema Pro are very good with generating schema markups for you, or Google's own structured data markup helper, and the URL, if you want to access that, just get the QR code. Tip number 6, optimize images for search, especially now that Google is going to roll out either late in the year or early next year their Search Generative Experience version, or SGE. You would notice that it's becoming more visual. This is a screenshot that I took from their demo. So Google search results are becoming more visual, which is why image SEO is becoming even more important. So image SEO is the optimization of images on a website to make them search engine friendly so that images load quickly. They're easier to understand because of the descriptive file names and alt text, And because search engines are able to understand the content and the context of your images, it's easier for them to match them to user queries that are specifically looking for certain, specific types of images, like this one. So one time I searched for a green women's blouse, like this one, and that's what it shows. Those are images that have, I'm assuming, all the necessary optimizations for the respective images. Image SEO is also important because it enhances understanding both by the users and the search engine machines with your descriptive file names and alt text. So it helps Google to better understand what they are and what kind of users are best to match your images. So how do you optimize images for SEO? Use unique images with your brand logo. Don't just take any stock photos and then put your brand logo there. It's not going to work. It has to be original, authentic images. Use the correct format. Use descriptive file names, not just 001.jpg, but really the description of the thing. Make your file names and alt text keyword rich. Use structured data for images, and put those images near the text that's related to your image, and if possible, create an image sitemap. Tip number 7, optimize your pages above the fold. So above the fold is the part of the page where you see first when you land on it, right? Did you know that Google has a page layout algorithm since 2012? So that algorithm specifically targets websites that have, too much ads flashing when a user first lands on that page, and so it covers all the important pages, important content or the main content of that page. So Google would penalize you for that. So why is optimizing above the fold content important? Because it's the first thing that both the search engines and the users see. So if they can see your main content right when they land on it, it's not good, right? Also, it encourages users to engage with a page, which reduces bounce rates and increasing the likelihood that they're going to do something on your page. So this is an example of, again, one of my clients' web pages. This is how it looked like before, just the title and immediately the product. And when I was looking at this page, okay, it says timeout. Sorry, sorry. So I was wondering, why would somebody ask me if I were the user, if I were unsure where to start, because I already landed the page, right? So when we optimized it, what we did was we put a descriptive introductory, short introductory paragraph, and then beautiful images that represent the product, and then a specific call to action button. And it did move the ranking of my client by 3 notches. So again, how do you format above the fold for the win? Use a descriptive title, whether it's H1 or the meta title. Put a captivating introduction that will encourage users to read more or scroll down your page. Add stunning images below that paragraph and use a clear call to action. Then the next 3 tips that I have all have to do with building topical authority. So what you probably have heard of it, but just to make us be on the same page, topical authority is that state where you're being recognized by Google as an expert or a go-to source for a specific topic because you have content that are high quality, and you have dealt with the topic with depth. So first, one of the things that you can do as a tech SEO, or from a technical SEO perspective, is to put a table of content on your page. You usually put that just after the above the fold. That would be one of the best places to put your table of content. So it's important because it helps search engines understand the structure of your content, and it can potentially increase users to spend more time on your page. So how do you do that correctly? Again, place the table of content just above your main content. Use a logical hierarchy of your heading tags, and put jump links on those headings to the different sections of your page. And you use internal links effectively. And how do you do that? How do you improve internal links on your website? Make sure that you are interlinking pages that are related in terms of topic. Okay, and lastly, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumb is what you see on just below the navigation menu of a page. So it gives search engines a better understanding of your website structure. So breadcrumbs do a better job at explaining to search engines the structure of your website than sitemaps. So this is how you do it correctly. Do a hierarchical structure of the topics, put them at the top of your page, and use the breadcrumb list structure data. Okay, that ends my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's just open up for a bit more questions. Let's open up for some questions. Anyone? Please raise your hand or go to the microphones in the middle aisle. We have 3 more minutes. Anyone have questions? If not, the MC, can the MC ask a question?
Sure.
We'll let the floor ask questions first before I have a question. Okay, hang on.
Yes.
I just want to know if there's anything related to like ChatGPT or something like that this SEO can be used for. Maybe if there's some tips you can share about that one.
Oh, okay. So sitemap, you can use ChatGPT to generate a sitemap for you. Did that answer your question? Oh, anything that I can show that is effective? Okay. So this is something that I wanted to show you. Okay, so this will show you a page. Is this a good example for you? Okay, so we published a page in June last year, and for several months, it wasn't ranking for any keyword at all. And I checked the indexing status. It's set to index. We also made sure that the page is optimized for the right keywords and the right user content. But then later on, we realized that because this is a product page and it did not have product structure data, so that was what was missing. And this is how structured data can be important. So what we did was we just added the product structure data, like this one, there. And in less than a week, see, those are, so we have the articles and the breadcrumb structured, but before this, we did not have the product snippet. And when we did that, it went in less than a week to number 1. And up to now, it's still ranking number 1. So sometimes you do all those things correctly, but try to see if there are any things that you missed.